thank you for being here. I think all of you know me, Catherine Chestnut with Alkaloid. We're having this call because life is very strange right now. I have instituted some requirements while people are in the office. Those of you that have been coming in, thank you very much for helping with that. I requested a mask or face covering for everybody when I reopened back in May. It feels like forever ago right now. Things are getting worse in terms of the number of cases of COVID in the city, in the state. I've had a lot of concerns about trying to keep the community connected as well as safe at the same time. As safe as possible right now. Andrew has an office here in the West Wing, and we're also neighbors. We see each other every day, multiple times a day. We talk frequently. And he suggested that we have this conversation and actually offered to facilitate the call. I really appreciate that. Everybody that's here is a current Alkaloid. Andrew, I'm going to let you go for it right now. If you have comments or questions, you can either ask during the call or you can ask in the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat as well.
Thank you. Good morning, y'all. Andrew Stein here at Alkaloid West Wing. The company is one unit. Hospitals hire us to come in and train their doctors and nurses. I love to go around the room and just hear everyone else. I'll do that one moment. You're joining this call because you like Alkaloid and you care about the community and you care about kind of keeping us safe and open. And I want to just thank you for showing up. We're going to spend the next anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes having a good discussion on how we're feeling and what, if we want to come out with a consensus around what we should be doing to kind of keep ourselves safe and to keep the community safe. A vision for where we end up at the end of this is a short statement. We all kind of say, hey, yeah, that looks good. We're all in this together, and here's what we would want everyone who joins, who walks in these doors to hold themselves to. And that may have to do with how we conduct ourselves outside of Alkaloid in terms of the types of exposure that we give ourselves or the types of how many people we're exposing ourselves to, which obviously has an effect inside these walls as well. That's the kind of destination, or that's one potential destination. I'm a facilitator. I know that things don't always go in a straight line. My background, by the way, I used to work at Deloitte for 6 years, and while I was there, I kind of worked in their facilitation group, designing, delivering workshops and offsites. Facilitation is something that I like to do, and I can do sometimes. All right, let me just go around and make sure we can hear from everyone. I'll call on you, and just tell us, your name, what your company, what they do, and then a one-word check-in. So give us one word that kind of describes how you're feeling right now. I'll start off. Andrew Stein, one unit. We help hospitals with physician and nurse teamwork. And my one word is optimistic. Catherine, I'll call on you next.
Catherine Chestnut, Alkaloid Networks. And my one word is hopeful.
Linda?
I'm Linda Ryan with Crossbeam Talent. I'm a talent agent. I help actors find acting jobs, which are non-existent right now. My one word, I think, is I'm always at peace.
Thank you. Amy?
I'm Amy Clark. I have a business and family immigration firm, and my one word, it's so hard to put it into one. I think I would also say hopeful.
Thanks, Amy. Michael, can I call on you next?
Sure. I'm Michael Chatham. I actually work with Inspire, and we do web development and web design and anything really in relation to websites, and I'm the web developer. I think my one word, not to be negative, but I think stressed is definitely my one word for this.
Thanks, Michael. Chip?
I'm Chip Hollingsworth. I'm a data analyst with Doximity, which is a social network for the medical profession. And my one word is concerned.
Thomas.
I'm Thomas Catilla. I'm a grad student actually at UGA. I'm working on a project right now that's genetic mapping based. Probably my one word would be, I don't know, I'll say afraid. I mean, again, I don't want to be negative too, but it's kind of a worrying time.
What was the word?
Afraid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Allison.
Allison Kaufman. I work for a local reproductive justice campaign called Amplify. And one word for how I'm doing or how I'm feeling, yeah, I'll go with concern too.
Concerned. Great. Andy, how are you feeling?
Doing great. Run a company called Enableus, and we help companies build digital businesses.
That sounds great. Okay. I think I got to everyone. So a mix of optimism and hope, as well as stress, fear, and concern. That's feels like that's a pretty good description of where we are right now.
I think that's everybody right now.
I want it to be better. I hope it's not. All right, we're here to kind of face the facts. I'll show. There are lots of different ways to talk about where COVID is right now, but this is one of them. This is from the Fulton County Board of Health. If you don't know, they have a great website, and they do a COVID report every few days. And if you zoom in on Fulton County, you can kind of get into 30307 right here, or I think we're 30312 right now. And it's red. Fulton County is red on the map, and then we're in the red part of Fulton County. There's a lot going on right now. It's basically never been as bad as it is right now. And so that's kind of what inspired me. Oh, hey, Vignette, thank you for joining us. Vignette, apologize. We're going to put the microphone in front of your face for a second. Just tell us your name, your company, what you do for them, and then a one-word check-in, one word about how you're feeling right now.
I'm Vignette Berkeley. I work for Humana as the CEO advisor, and I am feeling nervous.
Thank you. Yeah, Vignette, other words people used today were concerned, afraid, stressed, hopeful. Thank you for that. I'm going to start off by asking you this question, and I'll invite you to answer this question in the chat. This is a way to get everyone's answers out right away. The question in front of you is the following. What inspired you to jump on the phone today with us? Okay, any last comments? Great. Okay, some folks are kind of wondering if it's safe. Others want to know what other people are thinking. People are excited about wanting to continue to use Alkaloid and want to be part of that discussion. And some curiosity. Perfect. Let me ask another follow-up question. The next question I want to put in the chat to you is, what's your biggest concern right now? I should probably specify that. It's not necessarily, like, when you think about Alkaloid and co-working, or how you get your work done and where you get your work done, what concerns do you have? Once again, that's in the chat window, and go ahead and type answer and hit enter whenever you're ready. Definitely some energy around shared spaces at Alkaloid and how to use those, especially for those of us who are here and have the luxury of an office, but then there are areas that are shared. That's the co-working ethos. Keeping other people safe, reducing risk and exposure. These are great. All right, we have a couple other people who've joined Matt and Petrie Arborist. Whenever they're online, I'll get them to introduce themselves. Thank you for that. We've kind of talked about what got you here, what you're concerned about. And just one more polling questions, or a couple more polling questions. Let me ask you, how often have you been coming into Alkaloid? Because I think we have a range right now. Some folks who are here every day, like myself, and then maybe some folks who are currently not. Hey, Matt, tell us your name, where you work, what you do, and then a one-word check-in for how you're feeling right now.
Sure. My name is Matt Swartz. I already forgot the questions, but what I'm supposed to say, but I work for Inspire, a small agency. We do web application development and website development and design. And one word, I'm feeling, I guess, energized right now, which is good for the morning.
All right. All right. The question that was put in the chat was, how often are you coming to Alkaloid? Every day, a couple days a week, once a week. Haven't been there since March, once a couple weeks ago. Yep. All right, so we got a mix of people who are there every day.
Can I just say that some of those people's memberships may only include once a week or 2 or 3 days a week. So there's that to consider as well.
That's great. Thanks for that clarification, Catherine. Erica from Peachtree Arborists, your third day Peachtree Arborists, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the community. So let's get into kind of a risk question. And the question I want to ask y'all is, at what times outside of Alkaloid are you or members of your household around the most amount of non-family members? Like, when are you or the people that you are, or the people in your bubble around the most amount of strangers, or the most amount? Is it at the grocery store? Is it at the pool? Are you going clubbing? Go ahead and, whatever answer you have, go ahead and type it into the chat and hit enter. Got it. All right, so some folks have a bubble of friend groups, or maybe that's your toddler's bubble in case of vignette, and then grocery stores, Beltlines, doctor's offices, takeout from Krog. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, I think we're all kind of in that same boat, right? We're all have kind of contracted into where we are and minimizing down the essentials, and sometimes even going even further than that.
I want to know why, because me personally, I can't get sick because I need to be here. It sounds like most people are limiting their exposure to other people. Is it fear? Is it you're trying to be responsible and limit the spread or the exposure? Are you concerned about getting sick? Do you have, physical limitations? I mean, does that seem like a reasonable kind of segue? I'm guessing.
Yeah. You kind of gave a couple of categories: personal risk reduction for others, maybe risk reduction inspired by, compromised immune system or other risk factors. One person said their husband is high risk. That's obviously important. My wife is high risk as well. Living with family members who are over 65, worrying about others. I want to be able to visit my parents. My parents are elderly and I take care of them. Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. Catherine, what you got at is, it's not just the people on this call. We're all kind of thinking about the other folks in our world that we're trying to take care of.
Which makes my heart happy.
Let me kind of stop here. I've hit you over the head with a lot of chat, and I want to open the floor now based on what you've been seeing other people say about why they're here on this call, what their concerns are, how they're coming into Alkaloid, how often, the exposure outside, and why it's important. Any thoughts or reflections that anyone has? Just kind of open floor, open mic right now.
Hey, I was just going to say it's about time for me to hop off, but thanks for doing this. I'm going to take a look at the recording or try and catch up with Catherine about this later in the day, but thanks again.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, of course. I'll see you later.
All right, open mic, thoughts or reflections on what we've kind of shared so far.
I just want to say, I'm incredibly grateful for all the members that have been here, have been able to support Alkaloid during this time, even if they haven't come in. I am determined to stay here and to be here on the backside of this. It's not just a job for me, and I think you can all feel that, and that's probably part of why you joined, is that I really care about everybody.
Thanks, Catherine.
I can share something. I mean, I feel you, Catherine. Just speaking for Amplify, we're a very small team, and one of the benefits of the co-working space was the ability to be in community with others, and also to have space to meet was a really big deal. A lot of the work we do is with community and with partners, and with all of that basically being moved virtual, it is hard for me to justify the risk for the benefit of like being in a shared office space. And that hurts to say because the work we do is about community. And I guess I'm just holding that tension, which I feel like a lot of folks are right now, where we see the value of it and we're all craving it, but also just acknowledging that the world as it is right now is a lot higher risk, and thinking about the potential harm we could do to our employees or to community, and trying to force that. I'm trying to look out into the future, and with the fall and winter coming and the predictions from the CDC, this really isn't the second wave, it's the continuation of the first wave, and just trying to figure out what that means for the next 6 months to a year until we have some kind of better treatment or vaccine. Yeah. So I feel your pain, and like I hope you feel supported in this, and gratitude, at least from me, for making that commitment.
Thank you. And I feel such tremendous gratitude from everybody, even the people who couldn't maintain their memberships because they got furloughed or they lost their jobs or their company. I do feel incredibly fortunate, and I feel so supported by everybody. And I hope that everybody feels supported. I feel like I've done everything that I possibly can. And the place is pretty empty. There are a few people that are coming in, and I'm delighted to see them because I sat at this desk every day for 6 weeks during the shelter in place by myself. And it was weird.
Anyone else want to share thoughts, reflections?
I really appreciate all of the online opportunities you've provided. I've only, taken advantage of a handful of them because I think like we all have a lot of online meetings now. There's only so many I can handle. It's great to have that and to have that continuation of the community. And I think today is another great example. So thank you both, Catherine and Andrew. And I'm involved in a workshop with about 10 other people. So that's been taking a lot of my online time as well. But I think going forward, since we don't really know when we'll be able to do a lot of in-person, that looking at maybe there are some type of group workshops we can do together that would keep that community and connection going without having to be in person and take that risk.
I would love suggestions.
I'm afraid I have to drop off the call now, but I just want to say I haven't personally felt safe yet coming in, just, even with all the precautions in place, I've just felt it was the better thing to do to stay home. But I am continuing to support Alkaloid, for as long as it's feasible. And I really want this place to be here when I do come back. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks, Chip.
All right.
So acknowledging that there's a kind of interesting thread there around ways to keep people connected, I'm going to let that thread kind of hang there for a moment. And Catherine, if you want to do something with that later on or down the road, obviously please do. The thing I want to move us toward is if there is a consensus among this group of 10 that we want an expectation that we all want to hold ourselves to, or a value that we want to sort of articulate. What we could do with that is kind of say, hey, the interested people of Alkaloid got together on Wednesday. They met for almost an hour, and they came up with this statement. It's 10 words, 20 words, whatever. It's short, it's sweet, but like this is what we believe, and this is the members who kind of said, this is true for us. And that would then go to the larger Alkaloid community. And the power of that is this is member driven. This is grassroots. It's not, nothing against Catherine, but it's not a top down, you have to follow this rule because you're working here and because I make the rules. It's a member driven, these are expectations of everyone else here. So when you walk in the door, you kind of know that maybe the person that's across from you is kind of hoping that you've read that and is following that. So that's what I'm trying to get us to as something that we can hold as something, a high standard. The thing that I'll put out there as an idea is something very simple. We, the members of Alkaloid, we agree that we're all in this petri dish together. Any one of us could make a poor decision and kind of expose others. Our actions affect each other. We all commit to minimizing our exposure to others outside of Alkaloid, right? We're just going to take precautions, wear masks, reduce public exposure as much as is possible in our individual lives. Right? I kind of want to get a sense, is something like that, is that something that you individually would be like, thumbs up, I love that, or thumbs down, I don't think that's the right way to go, or like, I need to know more. So give me on the video, give me like a thumbs up or a thumbs down or kind of a, I don't know.
I'm abstaining.
All right. All right, Allison, we got a lot of thumbs up, but Allison and Michael, you had some comment. You had a little bit of concern. So can I call on you guys to, please share.
I mean, my question is, what does that mean? I think it's a nice thing to say, but I don't understand how accountability would work with that. And it doesn't really increase my feeling of certainty that like Alkaloid members are going above and beyond.
Are you saying that because we can agree to it because we all are already doing that as evidenced by the conversations, but doesn't necessarily mean the rest of Alkaloid is going to follow that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is nice to have in that if we have a commitment and somebody isn't wearing a mask or exhibiting behaviors, like you can reference that as, hey, we all signed on to this thing. Can you please? None of us have a right to like work at Alkaloid anyway. I don't know if that, maybe it's like peer-to-peer accountability is slightly increased.
Well, as a private owner, I can mandate and require Facebook.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So,
I think what Andrew's talking about is outside of Alkaloid, which is who are we to say what each other can do? I think that comment, peer-to-peer accountability is spot on. And I think that's what you're driving at, Andrew.
Yeah, Allison, I agree. There is no accountability mechanism here. We're not putting ankle trackers on anyone. If it's
not going to harm anything, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know if it'll change my behavior, like my feeling of security and coming into a co-working space, but it's definitely not harmful, and I don't want to stop it by any means, which is why it was sideways.
An underlying hypothesis I have, which is just hypothesis, is that most people at Alkaloid get it the way I think most people on this call get it, right? This is a time to be cautious. And there might be a minority for whom this is just the flu. Why problems? I'm gonna go to the bar on Saturday night and I don't know why people are making a big deal of this. And if the only thing that happens is that minority people is kind of realizes that they're breaking a rule, they're breaking an expectation, that might be helpful. It's uncharted territory. Michael, you had a middle thumb.
Yeah, I just thought it's not a hard expectation for people to follow, but it's definitely a not totally realistic one, because even I've had things come up where I've had to go to my parents and help them do something, or I've had to go somewhere to help a friend do something or anything like that. And doing that, you expose yourself. And even including me, the girlfriend that I work with had coronavirus in March, and she just got it from being exposed at work at CBS. So I just think it's kind of somewhat unrealistic, but I do understand signing of us agreeing to it, yes.
I don't think Andrew's asking you to sign anything.
No, but I meant agreeing to it.
I was going to say that I feel like it kind of goes off of what Allison was saying, which is, it may not hurt anything, but because people still have to live their lives, it might set a little extra voice in them a little bit to be more cautious, but people are still going to do things. We also don't want to set up a protective safety net mentally completely around ourselves, if that makes sense when we're at Alkaloid. Michael, that's what you're kind of referring to a little bit. Personally,
I think life happens, and we're all in different stages of life. If you find yourself in a place where you feel like you're going to be potentially exposed, then you have the option of, and I think the responsibility of, staying away from Alkaloid for 7 to 10 days or whatever the time frame is. And just being, because I have a kid getting married in 10 days, and this is the second schedule of this wedding, and guess what? I'm going to be there, and there's going to be other people there, but I won't be at Alkaloid for a week or two after that.
I think, Andy, you hit the nail on the head. You know, there's going to be things that happen in our lives where we're going to have to do, you know, like Michael, you had to go to the hospital and you felt really weird about having to do that, but you did. And you didn't come to Alkaloid for a period of time after that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Maybe we should all agree that if you do expose yourself, at least try to quarantine and not come in for a week or so.
Well, I was going to say one problem, at least I have, is because there's so many levels of what expectations are from different people on what exposure means that it's even hard. Like, I've been going into Alkaloid this past week, but it still makes me nervous, not because I'm going to Alkaloid, but just because, well, I've been around a couple friends. What are they doing? I trust them, but, you know, there's always still concern there. I'm staying outside with them and, you know, making sure I wear a mask and all of that. But it's kind of like there's just very different levels of expectations with different people on this entire thing. So you kind of have to balance, like, okay, well, here's what I'm doing, here's what the people around me are doing, trusting them, and then making sure, like you said, it's real blatantly obvious if you've been to a wedding or you've been to a big group that you shouldn't come into Alkaloid. But I think it's harder for me when it comes to smaller groups, or it comes to what I would consider still increased exposure, like, yeah, going to the grocery store or something like that. You know, like, I think it's harder. I'm just observing. It's harder for me to navigate that personally.
I was just going to say that, you know, I think having the privilege of being in an office makes this a little different. I've been kind of quiet in the conversation because of that. But if I think about the shared spaces and I think about what it would mean to sit at a desk, and if everyone is kind of in their mask, to Matt's point, I think those times where you know that you're probably not exposed, but not, you can never be fully sure. You know, if I was comfortable working in a mask at my desk all day, like, I might be okay with that. Paying attention to using surfaces and washing hands and kind of hand sanitizer, I think, is the other place where there's really kind of concern. What I am really heartened by is everyone on this call at least is willing to say that they are careful. You know, I don't know that anyone's out here advertising the fact that they're going to the club at night, but the way that we're talking about it is nice, and that it's a community of people who all really have something that they're adding to the world and something to lose, and so they're paying attention to it in a really responsible way. I feel comfortable that if we are responsible, if we are following the mask guidance at the very least, which seems to just be getting stronger and stronger, that we put ourselves in decent position. And if we are careful about the times where we know that we're at risk, that might be enough. And I do like the idea of just one more voice in my head of 10 faces that I can now think about to say, maybe you should think about this twice. If you were considering, do you go in today? Maybe you don't, because these are the people that you know could be at risk. So just thoughts.
Thank you, Vignette. I think we kind of had a consensus. I'm not sure what words to use to describe it, but I see a lot of 9 of heads. And so I think I'm inclined to kind of go back to, you know, maybe Catherine and I kind of go back to what we heard and draft something. We'll put in front of people just to see if there's any words that you would change or whatever. If that's something that feels like the community, this ad hoc community agrees with, then we put it out to a larger group and say, hey, the folks who got together said, we believe that this should be the case. You know, let's use masks when appropriate. If you're going to be exposed in a crazy, like, wedding style way, like, stay away from alcohol for a little bit, and just please be smart. Like, your decisions outside these walls affect the people inside the walls. And if that's all that people hear, and it's one, like you said, Vignette, one more voice in our head, kind of reminding us that other people are leaning on us, that could be helpful. So I feel like that's a good stopping point, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like right now, but we'll figure it out. Does anyone want to sort of say any final words on this topic?
I actually have a question because all of the concern and everything. I have my clients come in to meet me at the office, so I'm there once a week just to meet with clients or potential clients. Is that a concern that you have now, Catherine, or Andrew, or anyone else? Does that raise concerns with anyone?
I was going to say, and anybody else can jump in here, it's very rare that anybody has guests come in right now. And Linda, you have been really great about communicating the expectations and the protocols within the space with the people that are coming in. And I also see you cleaning conference rooms. It doesn't remove all of that. But honestly, Linda, you don't have very many people come in. They've all been really good about wearing masks and keeping distance and things like that. Does anybody else have any thoughts around that?
I will say, Linda, I appreciate you asking the question. I think the fact that you've been asking and that you're clearly, according to Catherine, doing all these things, like, you're doing the right stuff. Personally, it seems like you're doing the right thing, but can't speak for everyone.
I guess maybe ask your people, like, you don't want to see them either if they've been out, as Allison put it, Club COVID, right? You don't want to see them because you don't want to be exposed yourself. I can only imagine that you're talking to them about that when you're telling them about what to expect here too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Linda.
You know, Andrew, the last thing I think we could potentially talk about as a group is just Allison's point around peer-to-peer accountability. You know, there are people who aren't here, and there are people that we might know in this space externally, and we might get exposure to a visit to Club COVID. Having the conversation with those folks just to kind of talk about what we're aligned around and how we want to approach the community, I think would be helpful. And if all of us just kind of agree to take that on, I think it's just one more kind of arrow in the quiver to try to keep this place safe.
Can you talk a little bit about what that would look like? Is that a kind of hallway conversation, or what do you envision?
I think it's a hallway conversation. I think if you happen to be Facebook friends with somebody that, you know, you met here and kind of see a huge barbecue or something, it might be a messenger conversation that you have. I think similar to everything else that's going on in the environment right now, just having the courage to have a personal conversation, I think would be really valuable.
I think you're absolutely right. You and Allison are absolutely right. There's a role for that. I'll also speak for the silent mass, which is many people are just afraid of, you know, confronting a peer proactively, like, hey, but that said, if you feel comfortable doing that, I mean, oh my God, right? Like, we probably need more of it. So thank you for that.
And maybe there are multiple mechanisms, like it's just like with any HR thing, right? Like it's encouraged to have like a face-to-face conversation in real time, like with the person directly. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, we know we can turn to Catherine or to whoever else to voice concerns and to have that form of escalation or whatever reporting. But yeah, I agree. Which is more awkward or uncomfortable, like the spread of COVID in our working space or an awkward conversation, encouraging us to like push ourselves. Thanks, Vignette. But thank you guys for holding the space too. I really appreciate it. I've been completely stepped back from Amplify stuff, and this is a great re-entry. So thank you. Sorry, not Amplify, Alkaloid.
All right, well, Catherine, I'll turn to you to close this out.
I just want to say how much I am impressed by the community and the people that are stepping forward and the just really smart things y'all are either asking or suggesting. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting Alkaloid and supporting each other and supporting me and taking care of yourselves. So thank you again very much. Like Andrew said, he and I will put our heads together at a distance and come up with some kind of statement. We'll send an email to the people that attended the call, hopefully maybe later today. And whatever we land on will be communicated with the community at large, as well as a link to the video here. So that said, unless anybody has any other questions or anything else.
I also just want to echo the thanks. Thank you for making the time today, whether you're working on immigration work or web development or advising the Humana CEO or reproductive justice. We're all doing some good work here, and hopefully we'll continue to do that and be able to do that here at Alkaloid in as much as any individual wants to do so. And we'll keep this place open even in the midst of everything going on around us. So thank you for your time today.
All right. Have a great weekend, or a great week, whatever. It's Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.